Alright guys, I finally have my bottle of Angels Share by Kilian's Angels Share. I've been wearing it. It's going down pretty easily. It smells great. I'm in love with it. And I've got all the scoop on it for you and what I compare it to. I've got 4 fragrances here in addition to this that this fragrance is reminding me of. So if you're curious to learn about this one, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. Yes, today I'm talking about Angels Share, one of 2 fragrances that were launched recently from By Kilian, including Roses on Ice, and of course this one. When I went to buy this one, it was sold out, completely sold out. In fact, it's completely sold out currently. Thankfully, Saks was able to find some bottles, and they were able to, ring it up for me because they have my credit card on file. And I've got this, and I picked it up just before Thanksgiving on the Wednesday before, and I've been wearing it throughout Thanksgiving. And as I said, it is going down fairly easy. Look how much juice I've used up so far. And this is a 50 ml bottle, and I'll tell you all about this one. I'm enjoying it. I really do love this one. It's a great scent, and figures it's sold out because people do enjoy this one as well. So I'll tell you all about this one, but before I get to the review, if this is your first time tuning into my channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So yeah, I'm enjoying this one. I really am, and it was a great scent for me to wear for myself during Thanksgiving, obviously. It smells great. It's boozy, and it's boozy that Boozy is done by fragrances from By Kilian. It does kind of remind me of Apple Brandy from them a little bit. They're different, but I'm not going to talk about Apple Brandy. There's other fragrances that I will talk about here, even though it does remind me of Apple Brandy. And everybody that knows By Kilian knows Apple Brandy, obviously. So that's why I'm not going to bring up that fragrance too much. But there's 4 other fragrances that this reminds me of. So this is a 2020 launch. It's considered an Oriental fragrance. 50 ml bottle for $1.95. Perfumer is Benoist, Lapouza. Don't know this particular perfumer myself. I had not seen his name come up in any fragrance reviews or fragrances that I've looked up. So I was curious to see what he's done, and he's done quite a bit. And here I am, the first time I'm hearing about him. And according to the By Kilian website, it's the first time that they've worked with this perfumer, obviously, because I am a fan of By Kilian and I never saw his name come up before. So this has notes of cognac at the top, heart notes, cinnamon, tonka beans, and oak. Finally, in the base notes, praline, sandalwood, and vanilla. So as I was saying, I do compare it a little bit to Kilian's Apple Brandy, but they're not similar. And I guess it could also hint at a little bit of single malt, and of course they're not similar either, even though they're considered boozy fragrances. And I feel like Kilian does great boozy fragrances. Single malt, of course, Apple Brandy, Straight to Heaven, and then there's this one. Are there any others? There might be 1 or 2 others, and they do gourmands and boozy fragrances, and I really do enjoy their boozy and gourmand fragrances. They do them pretty darn amazingly well. So I can see why this is sold out. People do like the way it smells. It's a perfect fragrance for the season. It's this warm, gooey kind of a boozy vanillic gourmand that people associate with the holidays. So I can totally see why this one is sold out. So what happens with this one is initial blast is cognac, so it's boozy right away. No citruses here at all. Of course, when you use citruses and fragrances, it's typically in the top notes, and obviously they say it's cognac. So cognac, I like it. I like this note at the top, and it's a great start to a fragrance. Heart notes, you do get the spiciness of the cinnamon, but you know what? Overly cinnamony? No, this is not overly cinnamony. I think it's a nice balance of enough cinnamon to contrast with the tonka beans, and tonka beans for me are pretty prominent here. In fact, they're pretty prominent throughout the whole fragrance, along with the oak, and the oak gives us this like boozy barrel aged quality that boozy fragrances sometimes have. But just like the cinnamon, it's not overwhelming. If I compare it to fragrances like Frederic Mall's Promise, which has major like oak barrel aged kind of a boozy smell. This one does not. This one is definitely gourmand boozy rather than being just boozy with other notes, if that makes sense. So I think if they had added this oak barrel smell too much in here, I think it would have had too much of a contrast with what they're trying to accomplish with this fragrance. Finally, as the fragrance is drying down, pralines, yes, of course. Do I get a chocolatey touch? Not necessarily too much. It's very, very light hints that it doesn't really do much about the pralines, because pralines are chocolate and caramelly, kind of butterscotchy filling. So I don't get too much of a chocolatey touch here, which is fine, because otherwise it would contrast with the scent once again, because they went in a direction that they're going for me, I get butterscotch with this one, is I should say. Very, very butterscotch. It's almost like a very refined start of caramelization of sugar, but thin. I get thin. Keep that in mind, because I'm going to come back to this word thin about this fragrance. But either way, the base is very, very beautiful. It's lots of pralines with sandalwood and vanilla. And of course, it doesn't get overly woody, but you do pick up the woody nuances with this one, or the touches. And of course, sandalwood is always kind of a creamy anyway, so you experience it. Going back to that thin word again, this is a very thin fragrance. It acts thin, wears thin, but it's intoxicatingly delicious. It smells fantastic, and I keep wanting to smell it more. So the thin part is negative, but I think what they're going with is what they've accomplished is what they have given us here. I kept wanting something a little more beefier, you know, full of flesh. It doesn't act that way, but I'm wondering to myself, even though I like fragrances like that, if they had made this a lot more potent, a lot more beefier, denser, would it have, you know, acted the same way? Perhaps it would have, perhaps it would not have. And some of the fragrances I'm going to talk to you about in a bit kind of are in that direction, but they're also not necessarily boozy. They're more gourmandish, but not necessarily boozy. So if I'm comparing this to other Kilian fragrances, I certainly do compare it to Apple Brandy. It definitely acts like Apple Brandy. And Apple Brandy, I love the way it smells. It's got a kind of a thin quality to it. It's not necessarily overwhelmingly strong. It's not beefy, it's not dense, but it's a perfect smelling fragrance, you know? What's important to you guys? The way it smells or the way it performs? Which one comes first? Let me know that in the comments section so I can find out. For me, since I have so much fragrances, for me the most important thing is the smell, you know? If it smells great, I'm gonna wanna wear it. Presentation comes afterwards, but usually presentation draws me in. And this has great presentation, obviously. It's like a whiskey glass. Totally different than their other fragrances, as I was saying in the Roses on Ice review. But, you know, it draws me in. But a lot of the Kilian fragrances tend to be thin, very, very thin to me. I think it's either reformulation or that's just the way they're constructed and or made. So as I said, I'm comparing it to Apple Brandy. I keep bringing it up, and I said I was going to talk about it. I forgot to mention I do get some apple-y touches here as well. Like deep down in there, I do get some like green apple, but the apple's not like, you know, you're biting into them. More like cooked apples, you know, like cooked with the caramel or the vanilla or butterscotch or whatever. So you're getting kind of a apple-y hints rather than you're like biting into a fresh apple. So I do get that, and that's why it kind of reminds me a little bit of, you know, Apple Brandy, which is about apple liqueur from the same house. So, what are the standout notes for me in this one? Cognac for sure, cinnamon, yes. But again, the cinnamon is not like the cinnamon. It's cinnamony there, but it's just the balance of just a right amount. It's not overwhelming, like it's not an overdose of cinnamon, but it's certainly there. And praline is of course another note. Tonka beans are definitely also prominent here. I think you do experience a lot of these notes, but all of it is the correct amount, and they come in perfectly and they work wonderfully together. I just wish it was a little beefier of a scent, and it would have performed a little better. But in the end, it smells fantastic, and I'm addicted to the way it smells. It does go down fast, as I was showing you. It's gone down fast. This is since Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It's almost 2 weeks now that I've had this, and I find it to be very, very delicious. It's a very, very delicious combination. So that's my thoughts about this. I just wish it was a little more beefier. I feel like no, I don't know. I just wish it was a little beefier. So where do they go from this if they're going to make a flanker of this? Will they make a flanker of this like they've done it with Straight to Heaven? They came out with Straight to Heaven Extreme. I would love something a little denser. But for now, I'm obsessed with the way it smells. I like its trail, whatever amount of trail I get with it. Just smelling it off of me, obviously, and not really smelling it off of anybody else. But off of me, I like the way it smells. And I said it's intoxicating because addicting as well. I mean, it's an intoxicating smell that's also very, very addicting because I just want to keep spraying it. It smells fantastic. So as far as the smell goes, this is a very, very good smell, and I recommend it for that. So that's Angels Share. I'm going to tell you about 4 fragrances that this it reminds me of. Of course, I told you it reminds me of Apple Brandy from Kilian. So this is one that it reminds me of. This is a fragrance I haven't spoken much about, but on the old channel I spoke a lot about it. This is Sushi Imperiale. Is that upside down? This is Sushi Imperiale from Bois 1920. So here, another thin fragrance. It's a great smell, but very, very thin fragrance. Don't know why, because the house is known to have some very dense fragrances, but Sushi Imperiale to me is a very weak fragrance, but it smells fantastic. To me, it smells like apples and apple crisp and apple pie, all that kind of stuff. So it did remind me a little bit of this one, but they're not identical, and I don't get the booziness with this one as much as I do with the Angels Share. So that's one for you to check out if you're curious to check out similar fragrances to this. So this one, of course, Apple Brandy. Then the obvious one that I've heard from people, and I can see that I don't have a lot of it left, but this is Ambre Narguile. I compared it, and as far as thinness goes with this fragrance, I think the thinness is very similar. Sadly, I find this one to be thinner than these 2 fragrances. I don't know why, but they do remind me of one another. Again, once again, this is Boozy smelling similar. This is not Boozy. So in the end, Ambre Narguile comes close to remind me a little bit of that kind of Tonka beanie, kind of gourmandy thing. But in the end, this goes Boozy and that doesn't. And of course, the other doesn't as well. So one other fragrance, or 2 other fragrances I want to highlight as well that are kind of similar is Oajan from Parfums De Marly and Farah from Brecourt Paris. Now I've done a video of these 3 fragrances, comparing them together, the Oajan, the Brecourt Farah, and of course this one, Ambre Narguile. All of these fragrances are not Boozy. This one is Boozy for sure. But this is the dense one right here. If I had this with the booziness of this, I would be in heaven, because that's a perfect fragrance. So I like the booziness of this one a lot, and I like the density of this one. For me, this one is a lot about cinnamon and tonka beans, and those are prominent obviously in Angels Share. But this one reminds me of baklava. I don't know if you guys have ever had baklava. So it's a nutty kind of phyllo dough pastry with honey. So this definitely has honey in the notes, and it kind of reminds me of that kind of a pastry dessert. So this is definitely long lasting. It's a really, really great fragrance. One of my favorites, but not my ultimate favorite from this brand. And then lastly, Brecourt Paris also reminds me of Angels Share, and once again, it's not Boozy, but of course these 2 have been compared quite a bit. This one has dates, so the notes are different. It has cinnamon and things like that, so it's more similar to this, and of course Ambre Narguile. But once again, I'm obsessed and addicted to the smell of this one. I just wish it was a little denser to have better longevity and not wear thin on me, because it wears thin. The idea of transparent comes to mind. You can see through it comes to mind. If it was a dense fragrance, you'd be not be able to see through it, but you can. So that's the only thing I wish with this one, is to be a little beefier and a little stronger. Other than that, it's a fantastic smelling fragrance. I can see why it's sold out. I don't know when they're going to get it. hopefully soon, because this is going down pretty fast, as you can see. I'm drinking it pretty much. It's boozy. I'm not getting drunk on it. Don't worry, I'm not drinking it really. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Angels Share. One last thing I do want to say: the two fragrances that just came out from Kilian, by Kilian, Roses on Ice and Angels Share, do come in their larger 250 milliliter carafes. So they do come in that big size as well. And for Angels Share, both sizes are sold out completely. Roses on Ice, not. And I could see that. You know, Roses on Ice is a little bit of a toss-up. It's too cucumbery, ozonic, slightly aquatic on me. This one, really, really delicious and smells like the holidays. Anyway, those are my thoughts once again on By Kilian's Angels Share. What are your thoughts about By Kilian's Angels Share? What do you think about me comparing it to these four, of course, Apple Brandy as well from By Kilian, 5 fragrances? Have you compared them? And if you let me know also if you own a bottle of Angels Share as well, because I know it's very, very popular. A lot of people are talking about it, and of course, makes sense that it's sold out, right? Put some comments down so that I can find out. And if you were to rank By Kilian's delicious fragrances, or boozy fragrances, or gourmand fragrances, where would this be in comparison to something like Love Don't Be Shy, Rolling in Love? What are the other gourmand? Back to Black, Black Phantom? Let me know, how would you rank those, this particular fragrance along with those fragrances? Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.